Despite being subjected to the eyesore that was the New York Jets offense, Garrett Wilson put on a show as a rookie. Catching passes from Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Chris Streveler, and Mike White, Wilson totaled over 1,100 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, en route to an Offensive Rookie of the Year award and legitimate #1 wide receiver status. Today, I'm going to take you through what made Wilson such a problem for opposing defensive backs last season, and why he's set up to have a monster sophomore campaign in 2023. Coming out of Ohio State, Wilson's greatest asset was his ability to separate, and that trait has seamlessly translated to the pro level. Wilson is exceptional at recognizing and exploiting the positioning or leverage of an opposing defensive back, and this second down from back in Week 13 against Minnesota provides a great example of that ability in action. Wilson is aligned in a condensed split at the top of your screen, running a 15-yard out route. The defense is in a quarter-half coverage, which isolates the strong side wide corner on Wilson. Pre-snap, that corner is lined up in off coverage with outside leverage. And I want you to notice how Wilson alters the stem portion of his route to exploit the defensive back's positioning. Initially, Wilson takes an outside release to attack the DB's leverage and push him further outside. He then turns upfield and accelerates, which prompts the DB to flip his hips in preparation for a foot race. As soon as the DB opens his hips away from the sideline, Wilson breaks back outside and Mike White finds him for a gain of 18 yards. Wilson is an extraordinarily creative route runner. The vast majority of his routes are tailored to exploit the assignments and leverage of opposing defensive backs. At just 22 years old, Wilson already demonstrates an advanced understanding of defensive coverage concepts, which allows him to consistently find space in between zone defenders. Here, Wilson is aligned in a condensed split on the top half of your screen, running a shallow crossing route. Now, Cleveland called a 2-deep fire zone blitz, which tells the nickel and Mike linebacker to rush the passer, while the boundary side edge rusher drops into the middle hook. Post-snap, Wilson immediately sees Chase Winovich back off the line of scrimmage to get depth, which tells him that as long as Winovich stays inside of the hashes, there will be space in between the two hook zone defenders over the middle. So to ensure that Winovich doesn't match Wilson when he needs to break inside, Wilson gets into Winovich's blind spot and slows nearly to a stop, before quickly breaking inside and creating enough separation to convert on 3rd and long late in a close game. At 5'11", 184, Wilson is undersized relative to NFL standards, which prompted uncertainty concerning how he would fare against physical press coverage at the pro level. But despite his lack of size, Wilson was great against press as a rookie. Here, the Jets are facing 2nd and short against an obvious man coverage look from Chicago, and Wilson is aligned out wide at the top of your screen. Post-snap, Wilson closes the 2-yard gap between himself and Bears cornerback Kindle Vildor, and keeps his hips square to force Vildor to remain flat-footed. Wilson then fights through contact as he breaks inside, and makes the catch in traffic for a gain of 11 yards. Wilson's quick twitch agility burns most defensive backs at the line of scrimmage, even when they can get a hand on him. And that explosiveness, combined with sub 4.4 speed, makes Wilson a dynamic threat in the open field as well. Among receivers who were targeted at least 100 times in 2022, Wilson ranked 12th in average yards after the catch per reception. He isn't necessarily going to win contested jump balls at a high rate relative to the league's best ex-receivers, but Wilson already does just about everything else at an elite level. After catching passes from 4 different quarterbacks as a rookie, Wilson gets to catch passes from an all-time great in year 2. And Aaron Rodgers is going to provide him with so many more opportunities to produce. For one, Wilson is great at making himself available when his quarterback extends the play. Take this play from back in Week 18 against Miami as an example. It's 3rd and long, and the Dolphins send a 5-man blitz with man coverage behind it. Wilson is aligned at the top of your screen running a corner route, and I want you to notice how he alters his route when Joe Flacco begins to extend. The pressure from Miami's pass rush got in before Flacco could find Corey Davis on his skinny post over the top, which forced Flacco to roll out to his right. Wilson looked back to the ball as Flacco rolled out and flattened his route back toward the line of scrimmage, which created enough separation for Flacco to target him and pick up the first down. Last season, Joe Flacco, Mike White, and Zach Wilson were all poor performers when they were forced to extend. When holding onto the ball for at least 2.5 seconds, they combined for an average yards per attempt of 7 yards, a completion percentage of 47%, and a passer rating of just 64.9. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, averaged 7.1 yards per attempt, completed 53% of his passes, and posted a passer rating of 84.4. Last season, Garrett Wilson was deprived of opportunities to capitalize on broken plays, and even though Aaron Rodgers might be past his physical prime, he still offers upside as an extender that was absent from the Jets' quarterback room in 2022. Before Davante Adams left Green Bay for Las Vegas, he was Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy on third down. And to create favorable matchups on those key downs, Green Bay's coaching staff would often put Adams in the slot. In 2021, Adams ran 148 total routes on third down, 79 of which came from out wide, and 69 of which came from the slot. When lined up out wide, Adams was targeted 20 times and caught 11 passes for a total of 174 yards, or an average of 2.2 yards per route run. But when he lined up in the slot, Adams was targeted 27 times and caught 20 passes for a total of 228 yards, or an average of 3.3 yards per route run. Adams was very productive from the slot on third down in 2021, and Garrett Wilson's alignment versatility, along with his reliability as a separator, will allow for a smooth transition into the role of Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy on third down. This third down from back in Week 14 against Buffalo should give you a good idea of why Wilson has the skill set to fill the Davante Adams role on third down. New York is facing a 3rd and long from their own 22-yard line, and Buffalo called 2-man under, which calls for man coverage across the board with 2 deep safeties. Wilson is aligned at the bottom of your screen running a sail route covered by Bills slot corner Taron Johnson. Johnson is leveraged inside pre-snap, which Wilson attacks by taking an outside release off the line. Wilson fights through contact to get vertical, then breaks outside and survives a huge hit from Jordan Poyer on the sideline to convert on 3rd and long. Now, among the many factors limiting Garrett Wilson's production last season, none were more impactful than New York's lack of a deep passing game. When a pass of 20 or more air yards qualifies as a deep pass, the Jets quarterbacks combined for a deep pass attempt rate of just 10.9%. They averaged 10.1 yards per pass attempt on those plays, completed less than 30% of those passes, and posted a passer rating of just 44.5. However, in Green Bay last season, Rodgers attempted a deep pass over 15% of the time, completed closer to 35% of his passes, and posted a passer rating of nearly double that of New York's quarterbacks. Garrett Wilson was a monster down the field from 2019 through 2021 at Ohio State, but that aspect of his game was nowhere to be found last season due to the lack of a quarterback who could accurately push the ball downfield. According to Sports Info Solutions, just 18 of Wilson's 145 targets last season traveled at least 20 yards in the air, only 7 of which were declared as on target. Wilson caught all 7 of those on-target deep balls, but a reliable receiver who runs a sub 4.4 should be tallying a hell of a lot more than 18 deep targets. Wilson is going to see a lot more deep targets next season, which will result in a much higher frequency of explosive plays. So his role in this Jets offense is about to expand in so many different ways. Wilson will be the go-to guy in key situations, whether that means finding him late on a broken play, isolating him against single coverage on third down, or targeting him deep down the field. Aaron Rodgers will be looking Wilson's way time and time again at every level of the football field. For all the fantasy football GMs out there, I currently have Wilson ranked 9th among receivers and 19th overall, so I'd be more than comfortable selecting him at the back end of the 2nd round in a 10-team PPR format. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out my Patreon and Twitter, both of which will be linked at the top of the description. Not sure what I'll be covering next, but I will be back soon. So until then, peace.